To begin with, I'd like to tell you a fable. And it's a fable that you may have heard before, you may have heard variations of, but I think my version of it will be a little bit different, and how I will use it will definitely be different. Once upon a time, there was a healer who traveled from town to town, taking care of the needs of the villagers that she met. She might need to pull a tooth, or stitch a wound, or deliver a child. She might need to set a broken finger or a broken toe, give medication for a headache. She didn't charge for her services. She simply did what she did and then accepted the gratitude of the people that she met. Generally, their gratitude took the form of a hot meal at the end of the day and a soft place to sleep. Well, the day in which we meet her has been a pretty difficult one. She's been to 3 villages so far. She's walked very far. It's hot. It's just a tiring, dirty day, and no one in any of these villages have needed her aid at all. She's thirsty, she's hungry, she wants to rest her head, and it's dusk. She approaches the 4th village. She knocks on a door, says, "I'm a healer, I'm here to help, is there anything you need?" The man who answers the door says, "No, we don't need anything, go away." And she stops the door and says, "Excuse me, sir, I've been traveling all day, and I'm really hungry, could you share some food with me?" And he says, "Have you looked around you? All of our fields are dead. Our harvest failed this year. We'll be lucky if this village makes it through the winter. We have nothing for you here." And she says, "Well, wait, I have something for you then. If you would loan me the largest soup pot that you have," I noticed that there's a fire pit in the center of the village. "The largest soup pot you had, go to the well with me to fill it with water, and then help me bring in 2 large stones from that field to the north. I will make for you a family favorite. I will make for you stone soup." The man laughs at her and says, "Stone soup? No one can live on stone soup. There's no nutritional value in stone soup." She says, "If you help me out, I might be able to prove you wrong." So he gets the water, he gets the pot, he puts it on the fire, they get the 2 stones. She puts the pot on the fire and starts to stir it. Shortly thereafter, the water starts to boil, and a young child comes up very curious about what she's doing. And she says, "I'm making stone soup." And the child says, "Well, it looks like water with rocks in it, and it doesn't smell good. Who would want to eat that?" And she says, "That is a very good point." And she looks at the farmer who helped her carry the pot, and she says, "You know, this would smell a whole lot better if we had a little salt and pepper and maybe some herbs. Do you have any of those things?" And he goes back to his home, and he gets salt and pepper and some dried herbs, not a lot, just a little, and he throws them into the pot. And now things are starting to smell a little bit more interesting. A woman comes up with 2 beets, and she offers them for the soup. And so the woman cuts up the beets and puts them in the soup. And then a man comes with a couple of potatoes that he pulled out of his basement that he'd completely forgotten about. She cuts up the potatoes and puts them in the soup. Someone brings some onions. She cuts up the onions, leaving the skins on, and puts those in the soup. That adds to the flavor, you know. Somebody brings carrots. And then a man who just traded for a head of cabbage in the next village brings that, because what can you do with a head of cabbage, really? And so they cut that up and put it in the soup as well. And before you know it, several fiddlers in the village are now sitting in the center of the village playing their fiddles, and we have a party in the village around a pot of stone soup. As the villagers come, each of them brings something new, something different to add to the soup. And when everybody's there and everybody's enjoying themselves, the woman announces that the soup is ready, and everyone in the village has a bowl of stone soup. There are many different philosophies that this story can be used to illustrate. Ours is a little bit different. The focus of this topic, or this presentation, will be about hunger and food insecurity. 795 million people on this planet go to bed hungry every night. This on a planet where every single day we manufacture 4.3 pounds of food for every man, woman, and child alive on this planet. There's no excuse for anyone on this planet to be hungry. So what we're going to do tonight is talk about the metaphor of stone soup and how we can pull together all of these diverse contributions to make a dynamic, successful, responsive program in which campuses and communities partner to end hunger in our lifetimes. There are 5 basic ingredients to this recipe, and that's where we'll start our talk. Our recipe includes collaborators, events, media, research, and capacity development. And like any good recipe, there are some directions that we need to be aware of before we get started. First, we need to be aware that if we're trying to develop a campus initiative, a campus program, a statewide program, a national program, one size does not fit all. We need to tailor our programs to the unique context in which we find ourselves. We need to let the ideas and the passions of the people locally emerge and frame what we decide to do with our hunger initiatives. We can't model our program after someone else's program because we don't have the same resources, we don't have the same people, we don't have the same partners, we don't have the same passions. So to build effective hunger awareness initiatives, we need to tailor our recipe to what's available in our context. Additionally, we need to recognize that our recipe will be unique. And sometimes it will work extremely well, and sometimes it will not. One of the things that we found in our initiative, which is now 5 years old, on Wichita State University's campus, is that some of the best ideas on paper don't quite work out as well as we might have hoped in operation. And some of the less fleshed out ones, because people get passionate and excited about them, end up being incredibly successful. So find the people who are excited. Don't be afraid to experiment. There are a lot of people who can help if you're interested in doing this kind of a thing. There are a lot of people who are interested in hunger in communities. There are a lot of people who work in hunger on campuses. Campuses with schools of public health, schools of nursing, schools of nutrition or nutrition programs. Sodexo Food Service is an incredible supporter of hunger initiatives campus-wide and has a really strong relationship with Stop Hunger Now to support food packaging events across the country on campuses. So if you need help in starting an initiative, ask for it. There will be people who will be as passionate about what you're interested in as you are. And perhaps the most important thing that we've learned in the 5 years that we've worked on this initiative is to share ownership. We don't want to own anything. And sometimes when people are passionate about things, they get possessive of the things that they're passionate about. And that is the quickest way to stifle the passion of others around what your real common goal is. So, final direction, share ownership. So let's look at the individual components of our recipe for creating a sustainable campus community partnership to end hunger. The first ingredient is collaborators. And one of the biggest fears people have when they want to start initiatives like this is, how do I find people who are going to want to work with me? How do I find like-minded individuals? And it can be complicated, but it doesn't have to. First, if your campus has those kinds of places that I was talking about before, schools of public health, medical schools, nursing schools, nutrition programs, etc., they might very well be interested in collaborating. There may be researchers or classes on your campus that deal with this issue. For example, we have a health communication class that focuses on hunger awareness. And this year, the art department is offering a class that focuses on the Empty Bowls project that we've been doing here on campus. Put the word out, find out what interest exists on your campus, and then go to the obvious places in your community. Most communities have food banks, food assistant programs, soup kitchens, churches who provide food to people. All are possible organizations for collaboration and partnership. Then the second question about collaboration is, who needs the support in your community? For the Wichita State Hunger Awareness Initiative, we came up with 2 primary objectives. We wanted to raise awareness about hunger on our campus. And then we wanted to unpack the nature and scope of hunger on our campus. You know, we've all heard the myth of the freshman 15, and we've also heard the competing myth of the starving college student. How can both of those things exist? There's not a lot of good research for either of those, to tell you the truth. We've spent 5 years trying to find it, and 5 years researching it ourselves. So research in the community that you're interested in is also extremely important. Who in the community needs your support? They can be good partners as well. But the very easiest place to begin is with your network. Wichita State University Hunger Awareness Initiative started because I'm a cliff jumper. And by that I mean, I tend to be fearless and do things that most people would not do. If you remember, in 2009, the end of 2009, beginning of 2010, Haiti had a massive earthquake. And Humana Incorporated from El Dorado had started doing food packaging events. And a bunch of graduate students from the Elliott School, my daughter's youth group from her church, a whole bunch of people from Wichita had gone and been part of the 3,000 people who packaged 285,000 meals in a weekend. Now, there wasn't an urgency at this point. We were trucking those meals across the country in semis, and then they were going to sit in storage somewhere, and then they were going to go on a boat, and probably 6 to 8 months they were going to get to Haiti, and they were going to be distributed at Salvation Army schools. And then the earthquake hit. And the first thing that happened was the US Army grabbed that food and airlifted it into Haiti. I was hooked. Rick McNary, the founder of Humana and one of our great community partners to the WSU Hunger Awareness Initiative, called me and said, Deborah, do you think Wichita State can do the first million meal packing event? We'd done 285,000, right? He wanted to know if I thought Wichita State could do 1 million. I said, well, I don't know. And so I called the president and the provost and I asked him. And within a half hour, we were not only doing it, I was running it. And so I walked into the office of my grad students, Pam was one of them, and said, so I think I may have just lost my mind and jumped off a really big cliff, and I'm hoping you guys will want to jump with me. Because we had 3 weeks to put together this million meal packing event. We had no idea what we were doing. Humana knew the organizational structure, but we had to coordinate everything at the campus level. And we did it. We didn't package 1 million meals because I made a tactical error. I thought Super Bowl weekend would be a great strategy for people who didn't like football. They appear not to live in Wichita. Although over the weekend we did have over 4,000 people come and work with us, and we did package 641,000 meals, that we could tell the people who worked that weekend would be in the hands of hungry Haitians by the following Wednesday. Serendipity, being open to possibilities, being willing to jump off cliffs, being willing to ask questions, finding your collaborators wherever they emerge. That's the first step. Don't be afraid to tap into your network, to the people you know, to share what your passion or your interest is, and to ask them if they know someone. Rick McNary, who now works for Outreach Incorporated, said that every time he talks to someone about the hunger projects he does, he leaves them with a final question. Can you tell me 3 more people I should talk with? And that continues to grow his network consistently across time. So our first ingredient is collaborators. The second ingredient in our stone soup, who do you know? 2 other issues on collaborators. Who do you know as individuals, and who do you know as organizations that might want to partner with you in projects? Now on to that second ingredient in our recipe for stone soup, and that is events. Probably the cornerstone of our Hunger Awareness Initiative has been events, and I am so delighted to have finally found the art department and to be able to partner with the Empty Bowls project. I think it will make all of our efforts more sustainable, and I'm very, very excited about that, and it worked so wonderfully last year. But as you're planning events, think to yourself first, who will or should come, what would they be interested in, and what is feasible. We've never had a budget for the WSU Hunger Awareness Initiative. Through the grace of student services who have waived all the fees for buildings and those sorts of things, and media services who our department has paid the media contracts for to get recording equipment and microphones and those sorts of things, through gifts from other places on campus, through the provost who sent students 2 years running to the university's Fighting World Hunger Summit to present our work at that opportunity. We just cobbled together whatever is available. So our bottom line is we build it ourselves, we grow it ourselves, we communicate it ourselves, and we hope that they will come. And so some ideas for events and some of the interesting things that we've done without a budget. And most hunger awareness initiatives on campus have very small budgets if they have budgets. And they often include things like 1 course release time for a faculty member, or maybe a graduate teaching assistant or something like that for a course. So some of the brilliant ideas that we've had in recent years happened while I was gone on sabbatical this year. And Rave Against Hunger was one of them. I was actually part of naming that one. I liked that. Someone wanted to do Ho Down for Hunger. I don't know. That just wasn't working for me. But we hosted a rave. And my son taught hip hop. And Eric was the DJ, and we created a party for people to come and play with us. We sold wristbands for $3, I believe, that benefited Angels of the Amazon, an organization that I work with in Peru to provide food security for people in the Amazon River Basin. And you think college students like to dance, they like music, they like food. Rave's a good idea. Let's do that. We did the Empty Bowls Chili Cook-Off, our collaboration with the art department last year and the Ulrich Museum of Art, and made close to $10,000 for the Kansas Food Bank. And people got, both from the community and from the campus, to get their hands dirty, making bowls that were then sold at that event. And then they got to eat chili in those bowls. And we had a chili competition. And it was an amazing, amazing experience. One of the things that I've learned about the importance of events in hunger awareness initiatives is that people want to do things. Gone are the days when people wanted to write a check and be done and not see what happened with their money. Today, people want to roll up their sleeves. They want to get their hands dirty. They want to be involved. They want to be engaged. They want to make a difference, and they want that difference to be tangible. When you're packaging meals in the Hughes Metroplex, and you know people who are hungry will be eating them 4 days from then, that's tangible. When you're making a bowl, and you know someone's going to have the opportunity to buy that and eat chili out of that to benefit the Kansas Food Bank, that's tangible. Those kinds of events are the things that build passion in communities, particularly campus communities. Every year since we've started, we've done a food drive for the Kansas Food Bank. And as part of that, part of the hands-on piece, we also do a Shocker Lifeline to End Hunger, which means that we locate all the food here in Elliott Hall. We line the food bank trucks out in the parking lot, and then we have a line of people, and we pass the food hand to hand to the people to put in the back of the Kansas Food Bank trucks. That extra little step where people get to get their hands dirty, get to get involved tangibly in doing something that they know will benefit someone else. Going to the Kansas Food Bank and packing meals is another great example. A number of teams went and packed Bob's boxes last year as an example of that as well. So events, analyze your audience, make them interesting, and where you can, give them something tangible to do that allows them to recognize that they make a difference. The third ingredient is media, because if people don't know about it, they're not going to come. And we found that both traditional media and social media can be extremely useful in getting your message out. In terms of traditional media, we've done everything from been on Studio B on the Wichita campus a number of times to do local television interviews. We've been on the Sunflower multiple times. We haven't cracked the Wichita Eagle very much. We did with WSU Feeds Haiti. That was such a big deal, and so many people came to campus that they did follow that a bit. We've had a couple television stations off campus who have followed us, but the media on campus is extremely important as well, because they're getting students involved, getting faculty involved, getting staff involved is one of our big commitments and efforts in this area. But one of the ways we've found to really successfully communicate with audiences off campus is through both use of traditional media, putting posters for events around at key locations where you think people might be interested in taking part, but then also engaging with social media. The WSU Hunger Awareness Initiative has a Facebook page, a Twitter presence, and a website. Now, it is not as robust as we would like for it to be, because we teach a class one semester. We have a small group of students in it. They have lives and other responsibilities, so being on Facebook, Twitter, and blogging 24/7 is not going to happen. But some of us are pretty consistent in our efforts to be there and post things and try to add value to the dialogue of hunger nationwide. And internationally, interestingly enough, a number of the students from Honduras who were part of the University's Fighting World Hunger Summit, the year it was hosted in Honduras, follow our hunger awareness on Facebook and also follow our website. But that's a good way to get events out. We do event pages, we do blasts, we link to Wichita State University, we link to different departments, and we say, hey, we're here this way as well. We encourage people to sign up for events. And it costs nothing to use social media, except whatever it costs you to have an internet provider so you have access to the internet. So it's a really nice complement that doesn't cost anything to help build your initiative and build your brand. And Students in the health comm classes have redesigned our blog, our logo, and our website several times. Probably in the field of branding, that's not the best strategy because you want one vision that gets out there and then perpetuates, but students are learning and they're creative and they like doing things like this. So I don't think that the size of our following at this moment makes it prohibitive that we change our vision periodically. From a university perspective, probably one of the most important things that we do in the Hunger Awareness Initiative is take part in research. And if there isn't a way that we can link what we do to the academic mission of the institution, either through classes or through research or through service, campus initiatives won't be sustainable. For them to be sustainable, they have to fit into the mission of the campus that they're a part of. We have found research to be useful in helping us analyze our context. The blinders that we found our first couple years in this project were amazing. We ended up having international students in our class who made us aware of the fact that they don't eat at the same time Americans eat. And they prepare their own food. And the lack of availability of the foodstuffs that they're familiar with often make international students on this campus food insecure. We found that we have a lot of parents as students on our campus. And the costs of rent and tuition and books, particularly at the beginning of semesters, often make for difficult trade-offs in terms of, do I eat today, or do I pay gas to go to school, or do I pay my rent, or do I buy the textbook for my biology class, or do I pay that last payment installment on my tuition? And those are really frightening issues for a lot of students. Or do I feed my children? And just so you know, the people in our surveys feed their children first before they do anything else, but often they will go hungry when they have to make these other decisions and these other choices. So we found research in terms of unpacking the nature of hunger on our campus to be really insightful. We've learned a great deal. A couple of really interesting anecdotes on that. There used to be a campus garden right outside the old Union before it was renovated. And David Cassida, the head of Sodexo, met with us the first year we were doing the Hunger Awareness Initiative. He has sponsored 4 dinners and conversations where he will feed whoever wants to come and talk with us about their experiences with hunger. He's an amazing partner. But he was leaning toward tearing that garden out. He wanted to tear it out because none of the food ever got ripe in the garden. People picked it before it got ripe. It wasn't until he spoke with us that it occurred to him that maybe they picked food before it got ripe because they were hungry. During our very first Kansas Food Bank food drive, we had bins out in Elliott Hall, and I would be so excited. I'd go home at night, and our bin would be 3/4 of the way full, and I'd come in the next morning, and it would be maybe 1/3 of the way full. And I was so confused by this. I could not figure out where between when I left at night and when I came back in the morning, where the food had gone. The dorms would call us and say, we're overflowing, get here and pick up the food, and we'd go there and they would have next to nothing in their bins. It took days for it to occur to us that hungry people were taking the food out of the bins at night when nobody else was around. The biases that we had about what we were doing and our awareness of our community collided a bit, and we learned. We conducted research, so we learned. Additionally, though, the other angle in which this is helpful for campuses is that we get to present this work at academic conferences, and we've actually been successful in publishing both a book chapter and a journal article in addition to that. So there are many possibilities for expanding the capacity, the vitas of the faculty and the students who are involved in these kinds of projects. And it looks good for Sodexo when David Cassida when he tells Sodexo the efforts that he's made to work with hunger issues on campus. His integration with the campus looks good for him. So being involved in these kinds of projects can help benefit faculty, students, and staff on campus, as well as the community partners that we work with. There are a lot of opportunities for presenting your research. Here are just some of the places that we've presented ours. We've presented every year for the last 4 years, I believe, at the university's Fighting World Hunger Summit. There are statewide hunger dialogues. Kansas has one. There are now 4 others, and I'm in the process of writing a manual as a faculty fellow at Auburn's Hunger Solutions Institute on how to start state hunger dialogues for some other states who are interested in doing that. This model is part of that. So I'm excited about that. We've presented at popular culture conferences, communication conferences, sociology conferences. I would think Empty Bowls is community engagement for art, may or may not, I don't know. I don't know enough about art conferences, but maybe someone would be interested in that. And as I said, journal publications, book chapters, undergraduate honors theses, master's theses, doctoral dissertations, all are possible based on the kind of research you can do from an initiative like this on campus. And the final ingredient in our stone soup is capacity building. Rick McNary always talks about this story. If you give a man a fish, he'll eat for a day. If you teach a man a fish, he'll eat forever. I'm not sure why it's men, but anyway, that's sort of how that particular fable goes. And I think it's critical when we're involved in initiatives like this that we aren't just dealing with the urgency of the moment. We're not just dealing with the aftermath of the earthquake in Haiti. We're helping them build capacity as well. And by doing so, we're building our own capacity as well. This initiative has built so much capacity at Wichita State, particularly with the students who have been involved, but also with the faculty who have written and presented at academic conferences, who have published, and so forth. What will people gain by being involved in this? The students who are involved in this initiative come out with event planning experience, event management experience, the creation of media. They know how to disseminate information to various groups of people in useful ways. They've had to learn how to collaborate with community partners and speak in their language and listen to them because they're the experts on context. We're not. We have the tools we can bring to help them accomplish their goals, but they're in the trenches. They know what the situation is. They know what the needs are. And what will be your impact? Hopefully, on one level, our impact will be eventually to end hunger in our lifetime, and that's the objective of the university's Fighting World Hunger as well. But I put together some of the things that have happened with the people who have been involved in this initiative to this point. We've had incredible collaborations. We've gotten students into graduate programs. Students have gotten jobs in areas they never would have even pursued had they not been involved in the Hunger Initiative on campus. We've gotten nice visibility for the university. At one point, the Vice President for Research used to take our hunger report that we put out every year around to donors as a way of showing the kind of community engagement that we do on our campus to encourage them to get involved. So capacity building is for everybody involved. Universities gain incredible capacity working with real communities, real people, and real issues. And communities benefit from the expertise, the research capacity, the perspective, the creativity, and the innovation that universities have to offer. I was talking with Harriet Giles of University's Fighting World Hunger last week, and she said, one of the biggest errors that campuses make is a failure to recognize how valuable we are and how much we are respected in the communities in which we live. The communities in which we live look to us for expertise, for potential, for capacity, for answers to issues that affect them and influence their lives. So, our stone soup is made of collaborators, events, media, research, and capacity building. If we build our soup properly, then there are many, many benefits of a hunger awareness initiative. Diverse perspectives, like the blending of ingredients in the soup the old lady got the village to make, leads to richness, leads to uniqueness, leads to innovation, and leads to creativity. It also leads us to develop contextually appropriate initiatives that can truly make a difference in the communities where we work and live. Thank you for your time.